You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
It's been more than 2 weeks since Taco Bell opened its doors, and the excitement and lineups continue.
And then with his hand, he gestured like a large stomach. And then he reached in, tapped me on my stomach himself. He said, and that's the result.
Sorry, so you're calling 911 because you wanted to take a parking spot, but somebody else took your parking spot, but then you saw that this person wasn't going into Starbucks, they were actually using that parking spot to go into Fraser Mart.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. We're back for episode 197 of Keep Canada Weird, a weekly series in which you and I celebrate the unique, offbeat, and the unusual Canadian stories from the past week. And I'm especially excited for tonight's because we have a smorgasbord of weird Canadian news stories to break down. But before we get into all of them, how are you?
I'm well, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm good. I noticed you were yawning in the lead up to this. Is there something going on? Have you not been sleeping well? Is there something on your mind?
There's nothing on my mind. I am tired, though. I gotta admit, just getting readjusted after the holidays. I had such a long break. Back to class now, back to work, rehearsing for a show. So things are getting really busy again. And yeah, so I'm starting to feel it because I was off for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's really weird this time of year. The end of December, beginning of January is like a week of Sunday. Like if you really zoom out, you like have a whole week of Sunday. But then when you get back, the month of January for the most part is one big long Monday. And you got a case of the Mondays. But you know what fixes that, I find, is caffeine. So I just wonder if you have a special drink with caffeine in it. I know I do. I'm holding in my hand, I call these tall boys, like a full-size can of Coke Zero. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to get into it because I'm going to need a little extra fuel tonight because of how great the stories are tonight. I got a Coke Zero. What do you got over there?
I got, mine is caffeine free as usual.
Oh, damn.
I have to, toe the company line here. I've got a Zevia creamy root beer. Zero sugar, no caffeine. Okay. I'll pop this bad boy open. Oh, yeah. Feel that?
I know you like that stuff. And I apologize for my special drink being a little underwhelming this week. I actually had an extra special drink, but it was burning a hole in my pocket, and I ended up drinking it earlier today. I bought some of those ginger beers. Have you ever had, I love ginger ale, but have you ever had ginger beer?
Yeah, I have had ginger beer. I would usually have ginger beer in like a cocktail.
Okay. I like it just really cold, and I just sip on it. For anyone who hasn't had ginger beer, it's much different than ginger ale. It's almost like concentrated ginger ale, but it's delicious stuff. I plan to unveil it on the show tonight, but yeah, like I said,
you got scared.
It got the better of me earlier today, and I had drank.
You got scared. Yeah.
But I'd like to horse around and joke about special drinks and being tired with you, but we got to get into it. There's a story that we covered last week that has continued to develop and evolve to the point that we just need to open the show by letting everyone out there across Keep Canada Weird Nation know things have not gone back to normal in Newfoundland. Taco Bell's invasion, takeover of Newfoundland continues to play out, and we have some breaking reports from Newfoundland right now. It's been 2 weeks since the craze began. Of course, for people who tuned in to episode 196, we heard how Taco Bell opened in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, and everybody went nuts. Let's catch up on everything that's happened since, and you may actually hear a familiar voice in this news report. Listen to what's going on in Newfoundland still.
It's been more than 2 weeks since Taco Bell opened its doors, and the excitement and lineups continue. Are you surprised that it's still this busy after 2 weeks?
Yeah. No, not at all.
The restaurant, which touts itself as the worst kept secret in Mount Pearl, opened on December 27th. Since its opening day, a lineup has stretched the length of Commonwealth Avenue, with the city posting advisories and placing security and signage along the busy thoroughfare in an effort to keep traffic moving. Many first-timers were lined up this weekend, patiently awaiting a try.
Geez, we just got back from Labrador and still a big lineup. We left on Christmas Eve.
And I guess you saw the big lineup online. Did that stop you at all from coming to check it out?
No, it actually wasn't that bad. We were maybe about 25, maybe 40 yards back, and it wasn't that bad. So I said, we're this close, we can't leave now.
While others returned for a second visit.
It's worth the wait. I think it's going to be busy for like another week, probably.
The Taco Bell craze is also still one of the biggest topics in local Facebook groups, with many residents asking about the wait times before making their way to Mount Pearl.
I'm sure by now you've all heard that we have Taco Bell in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland.
A large group of people in Newfoundland collectively lost their minds over the grand opening of a Taco Bell. This situation is one of my favorite situations in the history of Keep Canada Weird. We've kind of followed along with a lot of developing stories, but Taco Bell absolutely like taking over a community in Newfoundland. I don't know. It may top everything else.
Yeah, it's turning again. I think I called this the story of the year last week, and I think it continues to dominate the news waves or the airwaves, whatever you want to call them.
The news cycle. It's
news cycle. That's in the industry. That's what they say.
Yeah, it's a 24-hour news cycle. And 24 hours a day in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, it's Taco Bell lineups. No turning right out of Taco Bell or left or whatever it is. It's craziness. Can you believe it's going on this long? And before you answer that question, we've talked about businesses opening and having this big buzz around them, for the first few days. But this has been 2 weeks and it has no signs of slowing.
Yeah, it's been 2 solid weeks, and I can't see it continuing that much longer, but at the same time, this story continues to surprise and dazzle us. So I'm excited to see where it goes, and if the lineup continues, and what people are saying in their cars when approached by the media over this.
Yeah, I do like that part. But not everybody is excited about lining up for Taco Bell. I want to read you a news report. This comes from VOCM News. This is a local news in Mount Pearl. And the headline for this article is, "Address Traffic Congestion or We're Going to Court, : Frustrated Resident Gives Mount Pearl an Ultimatum." A man whose parents have been directly affected by traffic congestion on Commonwealth Avenue in Mount Pearl says he's giving the city a week to address the problem, or he's taking them to court. Rob Thompson says the traffic backlogs created after the opening of the new Taco Bell has created headaches not only for commuters, but for nearby residents. His parents live on Commonwealth, and because of the lineups, they're having a hard time getting in and out of their driveway. He says the lineups are also impeding garbage collection, and he just wants the city to enforce their own regulations. The city of Mount Pearl says it's aware of the concerns raised by residents and will continue to work within regulations and with the business owner to help ease congestion on Commonwealth Avenue. So what do you make of that? Is this guy going to take them to court?
So what's he taking them to court for? Like, what's he trying to get? He wants them to enforce their traffic laws or whatever, but like, what's he getting out of it? Usually when you take someone to court, you're suing them for for damages, for a certain amount of money, whatever it is. So what's he want out of this?
But sometimes you just say, I'm taking you to court, and you haven't thought beyond that. And I wonder if this is one of those situations.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
like a part of living on a busy street is, it kind of sucks dealing with getting in and out of your driveway. It's exceptionally busy right now, but is that unlawful? Like, is Taco Bell liable to this family for their loss of enjoyment of their driveway as a result of the long lineups to get to see them? I don't know if that's their fault, but he didn't specifically explain in that article, at least, they didn't specifically explain what's not being enforced.
No, but
so
yeah, I mean, I can see it being a real pain because even when, this is an audio podcast, but in the news clip, you could see cars in the lineup blocking driveways. It is happening.
Yeah. Well, I also saw in that news clip, probably the city installed those kind of electric temporary signs that'll have like warnings on them. Like it may say something like, right lane ends or something. They have those signs on the street that say, please do not block driveways, be courteous. So I think the city is trying to prevent situations like this. But I guess this just shows that it's not all tacos and chili cheese burritos. There's actually some pain and suffering happening in and around the Taco Bell in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. Only other thing I want to say about this is I do love the idea of giving an ultimatum to the city. It's cool to say you have 1 week or we're going to court. I think that's cool.
I guess it is if you have something to back it up with. I mean, I don't understand from a legal perspective what legs this guy has to stand on, but and
I guess,
just some regular citizen being like, yeah, well, I'm going to sue you. It's a very Donald Trump thing to do, actually.
Don't get political here. Now, I know we have some listeners in Newfoundland. I tried to find this man, Rod Thompson, to give him a platform to share his frustrations. I couldn't find him. If anyone in Mount Pearl knows this guy, I'd be happy to have him on Keep Canada Weird to answer the questions we all have about his pending litigation against the town of Mount Pearl and the Taco Bell Corporation that has invaded it. Now, before we get into this week's Weird Canadian News, I have one more follow-up to last week's episode that I want to share. We talked last week about the upcoming likely domestication of raccoons. We have a correspondent named Holly who wants to open the show with her story about a domesticated raccoon.
Hi, guys. This is Holly, one of your U.S. correspondents. You guys are talking about the slow domestication of raccoons. Had a friend whose grandmother used to have a pet raccoon, and it was the fattest, meanest animal I have ever met in my life. I mean, this thing was nearly the size of a pot-bellied pig, and she'd shove these tiny sweaters on it. It was hateful. It hated everybody but her. Definitely bit one, if not more, of her grandchildren over the years. It was a terror living in her laundry room.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds... I guess, in the United States, I guess they must be allowed to own raccoons as pets because we're not here in Canada.
I have a feeling the lady who brings the raccoon in the house and dresses it in a little sweater could give a crap what the city thinks about her pet raccoon.
Yeah. In fact, she'll sue the city. Trying to take away her raccoon, she'll sue them.
Yeah, oh, you want the raccoon? Go down to the laundry room and see what happens. Go grab him. I'm sure he'd love to go with
he's
you.
the fat, giant raccoon in a sweater.
I love that story, but we can't spend any more time on raccoons or any other nonsense like that. We have some dead serious stories to get into. It turns out that if you dig into last week's Weird Canadian News, you don't dig down, you dig up, high above the clouds. The first two stories we're going to get into right after this break involve planes, aviation, and unique Canadian nonsense. We'll get into it after a short break. Handsome Aaron Airport. It's now the second week of January. For most people, traveling is behind us because traveling is, a lot of people travel around the holidays, but we won't let that stop us. We're going to be traveling tonight thanks to some weird Canadian aviation stories that made their way into the news last week. Let's start with what, if it were not for the Taco Bell update, is probably our story of the night. A correspondent named Tanya brings us a story from Alberta. Tanya believes our recent Best of 2025 episode may have manifested some weird Canadian news. In that episode, 195, we discussed the man who claimed his vacation was ruined after his video doorbell captured a Rogers salesman peeing on his car in his carport. Well, there's been another weird Canadian vacation ruiner, and this one doesn't occur in a carport. It takes place above the clouds. According to a WestJet passenger, a Christmas Eve flight from Alberta to Mexico took an unexpected turn when a flight attendant made shocking and offensive comments about his body. Here is the story of the man who says his holiday was ruined because WestJet fat-shamed him.
It was a dream trip for this couple, taking flight on Christmas Eve, destined for Mexico.
It was a real stormy day that day. We wondered whether we were going or not. But the flight was on time and it was just a normal flight.
After a few hours in the air to Mazatlan, Dave Rogers says a flight attendant offered up a small gesture.
The stewardess had given us 2 full cans of pop instead of your normal little plastic cup, which was very nice, we sat there and had our drinks.
When they had finished, Rogers held up the cans as a different flight attendant came around for garbage collection, but what happened next was an unexpected shock.
As he came close to us, he had the bag there and he looked at me and he sort of gestured 2. And I nodded, and then he puffed up his cheeks like this, and then with his hand he gestured like a large tummy. And I thought, oh my, what's he trying to say? And then he reached in, tapped me on my stomach himself. He said, and that's the result.
It completely caught him off guard, and the 23-year military veteran says he was genuinely offended.
I kind of thought, well, what do I do now? And we traveled the short distance to relatives in Mazatlan, and we were talking about it, and everyone I spoke to, because it was a family gathering, they were in total shock and dismay, and they said, you should contact WestJet yourself.
So Rogers did, and he says officials said they were sorry this happened, but without video evidence, they can't offer compensation. Global News followed up, and in a statement, officials say WestJet takes all matters of this nature very seriously and have escalated the allegations for internal review so appropriate action is taken, hoping for a resolution. Rogers says despite any apologies, the embarrassing moment ruined his vacation.
And even a couple of days later, when we were led around the pool, I wasn't my normal, jovial, happy self. The wife was like, it's still upsetting you, isn't it? I said, it is. I'm in total dismay that that kind of thing would happen.
Oh, man. I feel for this guy because going on to Mexico during the winter, you know you're going to be at the resort, you're going to be at the pool, you're going to be on the beach. The last thing you want before you get there is like someone commenting on your big belly, all because you drank 2 pops. Come on, you're on a plane and it's Christmas. That's the time to binge.
I do think this is a case, I can sniff a little bit of, hey, can I get my vacation paid for, please, kind of situation. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're often suspicious that someone's trying to get free plane tickets or something. I don't know why he's going on the news if not to get something out of WestJet. I maybe would want to go after them just because they were kind of dismissive of it. It seems like their response made me feel like unless he had a video of the interaction, they weren't too concerned about it. And I think that's the way things go now, because if you have a video, you can put it up online and everyone sees it and talks about it, and you get them. In this case, I guess since he didn't have the video, if he wanted to get that guy for doing that to him, fat shaming him, he had to put himself out there and go on the news. And I must say, he's not like a fat man or anything. He just looks like
he doesn't strike me. He's not somebody who I would see walking down the street and be like, oh, that's a big boy. But he just looks like a normal guy, and maybe he's got a little belly. I don't know.
No more than my dad does or something. Like he looks like,
yeah.
I wouldn't imagine he goes to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and watches carefully what he eats. He's like what I would call like a meat and potatoes kind of guy.
Okay. But in this situation, how do we, if you're WestJet, right? Mm-hmm. Let's role play for a second. You be WestJet and I'll be the fat man.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
One of your attendants called me fat on the plane because I had 9 Cokes. Can I get my vacation paid for, please?
Sir, I'm very sorry if we made you feel any less than ideal and handsome on the way to your trip. I can't pay for your vacation, but what we can do is upgrade your seats next time you're on. We'll put you, you fly with WestJet again. Give us another chance to show you why we're Canada's airlines, and we'll upgrade you to celebrity class as a apology.
Well, it's just that he called me poor man Santa Claus.
Okay. Sir, I'm hanging up this call.
Hello.
So let's kind of talk about that role play. Do you think the idea of a seat upgrade would have been enough?
A seat upgrade, like into first class or something?
Yeah, because that doesn't cost them any money. So why not do that for them? Get them to fly WestJet again. It's not like they're going to fire the guy who did it. They're going to end up giving the flight attendant who did that maybe some sensitivity training, like don't touch the people, don't comment on their bodies.
Yeah, no touching is key. But then, if WestJet sets a precedent with this, as to like if you call up or if you say, hey, one of your employees touched my belly and called me fatty fat.
Not only that, it's kind of funny. It is a bit comedic that the flight attendant puffed up his cheeks, like he put air in his cheeks, and then he made like the big belly shape with his hand, like he kind of put on a bit of a mime performance.
Yeah, it sounds a little absurd, to be honest. I'm just picturing like who in their right mind would behave like that while they're working. But but I don't know. I mean, I feel for the guy.
Would it ruin your trip if this was you?
It would definitely spoil the first day, probably. You know, I used to carry a lot of weight over the years. And yeah, when somebody would comment on my weight when I was bigger, yeah, it would stick with me for a bit. It wouldn't ruin my vacation though. I would say that.
But if you're going to an all-inclusive kind of thing, if someone said this to you on, day one of your trip, I could see on day 3 being like, oh, like that taco bar looks good, but no, like I can't do this to myself. The flight attendant was right. I got to change my life. Like I could see this sitting with you, especially given the time. If he had said it to him on the way back to Alberta from Mexico, he'd be like, yeah, I know. I've been eating tacos and burritos, drinking my face off at the pool in Mexico for the last week. Like when I get back to Alberta, it's, I'm back on track. To have this happen on the way to the all-inclusive, if that's where he's going, I don't know if it was an all-inclusive, but on the way to his vacation, I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like the way he speaks about it, like it's our dream vacation and it was ruined and all of these things. It does reek a little bit of, I'm going to do whatever I can to get my vacation paid for.
Mm-hmm. But let me ask you this. Who deserves a free vacation? The guy who had his car peed on or the man who was fat-shamed?
I really don't trust the guy whose car was peed on. I don't trust him at all. So if I'm going to give a free vacation to one of them, it's going to be the guy who was body shamed.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you as well because of the physical touching.
Yeah, physical touching and
they touch his belly. That's a
humiliation. Yeah, the whole pee thing, Again, I do sympathize with the door-to-door salesman who really had to go to the bathroom and had no other choice but to pee there.
Yeah, but you always have another choice than fat shaming one of your customers.
There's always there's a million other choices that would be better than that. Yeah.
Let's move on to our second and final story related to aviation. It was a weird week on planes in Canada last week. An Air Canada flight from Toronto to Moncton got weird quick. As the plane began accelerating for takeoff on the runway, it became obvious that something was wrong. Passengers in the rear of the plane could hear desperate screams coming from beneath their feet. Here is the story of the crew member who somehow got trapped in the cargo hold.
Air Canada Rouge Flight 1502 was taxiing down the runway at Pearson International Airport, about to take off from Moncton, when some passengers heard frantic banging and yelling from the floor beneath them.
And some of the people that were sitting towards the back of the plane heard the person screaming and banging, trying to get their attention. One of the person even said that they called 911.
Gabrielle Caron says the pilot soon announced takeoff was delayed because a ground crew member was trapped in the baggage hold.
We're noticing the flight attendants are kind of running back and forth in the airplane, and on the ground we can see the crew gathering around the plane, so we know something's happening.
The person is perfectly fine and safe.
The plane taxied back to the terminal and the crew member was rescued. Air Canada declined to answer questions from CBC News, but it did confirm that the aircraft cargo doors were inadvertently closed while a member of the ground crew was inside, adding that there were no injuries and the incident is under investigation. While the crew member's experience would have been terrifying, making that flight would not have caused serious harm, says this aviation expert.
So there was no danger of hypothermia or any other asphyxiation. You're not supposed to be in there. We're not supposed to be carrying, individuals, human beings in that cabin, in that hole.
He suspects normal procedures were not followed, and investigators will want to know why.
What was his state of mind? What was his work content? Was he fully alert?
I don't know much about planes or how the cargo and suitcases and stuff are loaded in there, but I didn't think people crawled in there. It seems like if they did and there was a chance of them getting stuck, it would happen more often. So as I'm hearing this story, I think of a few things. I think of how terrifying it would be to get stuck in there and then all of a sudden realize takeoff is about to happen. But I also think why was he in there?
Well, I'm imagining him going in to maybe move the bags around in a way that
Play
I don't
Tetris.
know. I mean, like they're trying to place the bags in a certain way so that it's evenly distributed amongst the storage space. I don't know. I mean, it's not working that job. I can't really say why somebody would be in there. It doesn't surprise me that somebody would go in there when the plane is not moving.
I don't know how big that area is. I thought it was just like a little door on the side that they kind of slide things in. But I guess, yeah, if you wanted to load all those suitcases in, someone probably has to get in there to rearrange them and organize them. But there must be some system in place to prevent it from getting shut and someone like being stuck in there and going flying. I always thought there was no air down there, so that when I first heard of this happening, I was thinking if it did take off, would that guy run out of oxygen and die? But I guess by the sounds of that clip, it makes it seem like that wouldn't have happened. It would have just been a horrible couple hours.
It would have been pretty terrifying, yeah, I imagine. And then you're in there with all the luggage. Yeah, cold. I mean, I'd be going through people's luggage, getting their sweaters and their coats out and putting them on.
Yeah, of course. It'd be kind of like a weird version of the movie Home Alone.
Yeah, how so?
Because you'd be like kind of stuck in this situation where you have access to all this stuff and no one to look after you. I don't think you would have any robbers coming, but I do think you could kind of, make the best of a bad situation by opening everyone's luggage, maybe making like a little couch or Chesterfield or whatever, or sofa out of the suitcases and sitting in there. Maybe some people had their iPads and stuff packed so you could make a little TV. You could find a Nintendo Switch and play some games. People travel with food. There's probably something to eat. You could actually probably have a pretty good time.
You could if it was warm. You would have to get really warm. But I think that, it would be an interesting journey, I guess. But I'd be worried about safety in terms of being tossed around in there. And you're not, you don't have any seatbelts down there. You don't have kind of anything to protect you. And if the plane starts experiencing turbulence, you're going to be bopping around with all the luggage down there and getting tossed around. And
yeah, and what I'd like to know, there's a bit more I'd like to know about this. The passengers described hearing the screaming. What led to the pilot and the staff stopping the plane? Because it's come out that passengers were calling 911. Why would they not tell the stewardess? Like, why would they? I guess because the stewardess would fat shame.
Well, yeah, the stewardess was doing puffing out their cheeks and pointing at everybody like, "You're fat, you're fat, you're fat too." There's nobody down there. That's just fat dreams.
But the 911, like a 911 call for this situation seems pretty bizarre. But let that be a bit of a teaser for something to come. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about 911 calls as we get going. But I would like to hear a 911 call coming from this plane. I would imagine the 911 operator would have just said, like, "Did you tell the stewardess?"
Yeah. And the stewardess would say, "There's no video evidence of that at all."
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to hear that nothing bad came out of this, and it just ended up being a day of delays because it did knock back traffic in that airport pretty far as this was all dealt with. We're about to get to our final ad break. When we come back from it, we got some great stuff, including a great lawsuit court case and some of the worst 911 calls of 2025. But before we get into that, I want to hear from, we're going to hear from a listener. She's a correspondent who used to hate our program. But in hindsight, she realizes we were right about something. We were right about not Googling things while recording. Here's why.
Okay.
I think I owe you guys an apology. Because every once in a while, in my head, I'm a real hater. Specifically, when you guys refuse to Google something. Usually when I know the answer. And like a quick Google search could just like resolve it so quickly. But the more and more I get the AI overview answer instead of the real answer when I'm trying to Google something really quick, I get it. Because Googling's not fast anymore. It's not efficient. It's not convenient. And yeah, just guessing with your peers is now just about as accurate and way more efficient. So I apologize for my silent hate that I never sent to you and am just now confessing to.
I like the silent hate. I think we probably have a lot of people out there silently hating us, but eventually they'll come around just like she did. I like how I get what she's saying, though. That AI overview on Google drives me crazy. You want to like find something. Instead, it just gives you a bunch of like gibberish that you don't know if it's right or wrong. So you got to, if you want to kind of test it, you got to click on its sources and figure out what it's even trying to tell you. It's nonsense. Like she says, it's probably better to just like get together with your friends and see how close you can get to the truth. And that's what we do. We just we crowdsource the correct answer, but the only crowd we're sourcing on the spot is each other.
Yeah. I like the fact that we don't Google on the show. We easily could, but it's something that we've never really done because when you're having a conversation with somebody, I guess you are Googling, I guess, out in the wild when you're having a conversation with somebody, but
that just bugs me. I'm starting to really get turned off by technology altogether. AI and everything else, it's just making people nuts and dumb, and it's driving me crazy. But what can you do about it?
Yeah.
If you can't beat them, join them. So maybe we should start Googling on this show and just reading each episode should be us reading the AI overview.
No, I like to fly, I like that we fly by the seat of our pants on this show. And if we don't know something and it comes out wrong, it comes out wrong. And we get heavily corrected through voicemails, and that's always fun.
Yeah, for example, we didn't know that egg meant agriculture.
Famous. We didn't know that. No.
Next week's episode will be for corrections.
That's right.
That's the motto around here.
Yeah. But I always felt her silent hate, even though I never knew who she was. I could always feel it washing over me at times in my life. When you walk into a room and you just get this feeling like there's an entity in the room or something.
Mm-hmm. Is this haunted or does someone hate me?
And every now and then, when I look at Apple podcast reviews of Keep Canada Weird, I would get that feeling of like, there's someone who hates this show that's not...
They have a pending review. These guys are idiots.
That's not speaking up here. They're not... Who is that?
Don't hold it in. Everyone out there, if you have something to say about the show, go to Apple Podcasts, search Keep Canada Weird, and leave us a review. If you have something positive to say.
Put 5 stars and then say whatever you want.
Yeah, like if you hate the show, 5 stars and then write what you hate about it, and we'll read them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should call out for reviews. I think most podcasts do that. Let's do that right now. If people out there could leave a review, I'll on Apple Podcasts or Spotify for Keep Canada Weird or the Canadian Gothic. We'll pull some at random maybe next week and read them. And if yours is read, we'll send you a swag pack.
Yeah, that sounds fair enough. Yeah, that sounds fair.
All right. Well, let's get into our final ad break. When we get back, we're going to hear about the kid versus kid dinosaur fight lawsuit. And it is a weird one. After this break. Handsome Aaron Airport. We're going to court. A correspondent named Amy shared one of the most bizarre legal cases I've seen in a while. Just last week, an Alberta judge released their decision in the kid versus kid dinosaur fight lawsuit, which is just as bizarre as it sounds. You want to take this one? And if you have a cast of characters over there that wants to chime in, as long as the Keep Canada Weird Army gets the story, we'll let you take it away.
Okay, you asking for the newsboy here, or?
That's a polite way of asking for the newsboy.
All right, let's get the newsboy out here. If he's not involved in some kind of court case. Extra, extra, read all about it. Alberta judge tosses lawsuit after toy dinosaur fight between kids ends up in court. Usually when kids scrap it out over toys at daycare, the worst outcomes is hurt feelings or maybe a timeout. But in Grand Prairie, Alberta, one very unlucky toy dinosaur incident spiraled into something far stranger. A lawsuit with one child suing another in civil court. Mm-hmm. The case centered on a 2022 summer daycare scuffle between a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old who barely knew each other. fighting over a plastic dinosaur roughly the size of a water bottle. During what a judge later described as a brief swatting match, the dinosaur struck the younger boy's hand, causing a serious finger injury that required surgery and was described in court as being essentially severed at the bone but still attached. Instead of targeting the daycare, the case unfolded as child versus child, an extremely rare legal situation that raised all kinds of awkward questions about kids, consent, and responsibility. There were no dramatic courtroom theatrics or high-powered lawyers, just testimony from the boys and their mothers. The judge ultimately ruled the incident as a bizarre, accidental fluke of normal childhood roughhousing, not an intentional assault, and found no fault with the other child or his parents. The lawsuit was dismissed, ending one of the strangest legal battles imaginable, a dinosaur-fueled daycare dispute that briefly turned into a courtroom showdown.
There's so many questions about that one. And I will tell you, and everyone listening, I did all the Googling I could, read all the AI summaries I could find. I even found the actual court decision written by the judge. I read through it, and it is as strange as that sounds. Like the defendant and all that stuff, it was the kids' names, but then in brackets it would have their parents' names as like representatives. So the court case was between the two children, with their parents kind of serving as not as lawyers, but as some kind of representative. And I wonder if that has something to do with the age of the kids. Maybe like it would, can you sue someone when you're 11 years old? But anyway, the judge's decision was just as this article explained, as the judge ultimately ruled that it was just two kids in daycare swinging at each other over a toy, and a freak occurrence led to one of them getting their finger half cut off. But what I wonder is, how did this end up in court? Because another thing it didn't explain in this article is the judge's decision also said there's no like long-term problem because the kid's finger healed and there's hardly even a scar there now. There's no long-term damage or anything. It's like it's something that's in the past. So why did this become a lawsuit?
Yeah. So these kids are several years older now. The finger is fine. I didn't think it was possible for a child to sue another child. So whose idea was it to sue, really? So it wasn't the 9-year-old or the 11-year-old being like, I'm going to sue you.
Well, the 9-year-old was the suer. That was the one who got hurt and wanted to sue. I can't imagine the 9-year-old was like, I'm suing him.
Yeah, they're not coming up with that idea on their own. So
I hope not. The most mature 9-year-old is like Boss Baby, if you've ever seen that movie. But why not sue the daycare? Like you would think if a kid gets hurt, if my kid was at daycare and some kid pushed him over and knocked his head off or something, my thought wouldn't be, I'm going to sue that other kid. My thought would be, I'm going to sue the daycare or the people who are looking after my kid or should have prevented this from happening. What surprises me most of all is that it ended up in court and that it was kid versus kid and not kids' parents versus daycare, who had a legal obligation to protect the kid.
And so child versus child in a court case like this, one child suing another child for what? Like their bike or their piggy bank? Like what are they? This is, again, another question similar to the man who's trying to sue the city about the Taco Bell lineups. Mm-hmm. What is the child looking to get from the other child? But aren't you just essentially suing the other parent at that point in time because the child has no money?
Yeah, I know. That's what's so bizarre about this. I think we need like a legal take on this, because I've never heard of a kid being sued or a kid suing. I think it's weird Canadian news because it's just so bizarre and unexpected. If anyone out there has a legal background, let us know. Like, can kids sue kids? And if so, why does it not happen more often? And can kids represent themselves? Could you be you can go to court and represent yourself as your own lawyer?
Yeah, you can.
That would have really got interesting if the 9-year-old was like questioning the 11-year-old on the stand.
Yeah.
Slam the dinosaur on the table.
Yeah. Do you recognize this dinosaur? Do you recognize its jagged edges?
Anyway, a weird one, but let's get to some other weird stuff. We have a fun way to end the episode. Something that I always enjoy, but sadly we can't do a lot, is listen in on dumb 911 calls. It's something that In the United States, 911 calls are so easily accessible. In Canada, it's a whole different beast. It's very difficult to get your hands on 911 calls. But it seems like what happens is at the end of every year, a lot of different law enforcement and emergency agencies share some 911 calls as a way to tell the public to not abuse 911. Only call when it's a life and death emergency. And the way we can prove that these calls are abused is by releasing some ridiculous 911 calls. And we have a cool collection of them to go out on tonight. It turns out that BC's largest 911 operator, they're called Ecom, they released their annual top 10 list of inappropriate 911 calls as a way of highlighting the public's worst uses of the service in 2025. So I thought what we could do together, Aaron, you and I, is listen to the 10 worst 911 calls in 2025 from BC. But I will say that these calls are heavily redacted. We don't hear the caller's voice. We just kind of hear a description of what the call is about, and we hear how the 911 operator shuts it down. But there's still a lot of meat on the bones of this. Let's go through them and see if any of these calls are justified. Let's jump right into it. Starting with number 10, this is a 911 call from someone that was unhappy about their haircut.
What are you wanting police to do? Okay, yeah, I mean, this will be a civil issue between you and staff. This is not a 911 call.
So as you hear, we just hear kind of their response to it. Who in their right mind would call 911 over a bad haircut?
I mean, if the haircut was so bad that, you know, the scissors drew blood, that could be a legitimate reason to call 911 over a bad haircut.
But if you're gushing out, like 911's for like a life or death emergency. Yeah. If he's actually carving into your head with the scissors, that'd be the kind.
Yeah, that would be a reason to call 911. My barber sliced me open. It's a real bad haircut.
Let's try another one here. This is a 911 call related to a hornet being in someone's apartment.
Okay. Are you, like, safe, I guess, besides the hornet being there? Are you speaking freely? Unfortunately, just to get a hornet out of your apartment is not going to be a police issue. That's something you're going to have to call someone else, maybe an exterminator if you want to get rid of it. It's not a police issue, okay?
I think he handled that well, and I can relate to that. I'm terrified of bees. I've had some angry wasps, hornets, stuff in my house, but I never would have thought I should call 911 about this.
Even calling an exterminator for what sounds like one hornet in their house would be extreme, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if number 8's as extreme. This one is someone who's calling 911 because they left their iPad at what's called the SkyTrain station, which I think is like sort of like a subway thing, an above ground subway, I believe. Here it comes.
Okay, are you having an emergency, sir? Okay, you called 911. It's for emergencies only, okay? If you'd like to speak to the non-emergency line, you got to give them a call.
I don't think she handled it well. She should have had a bit more sense of humor.
Sense of humor in the 911 dispatch should.
That's a good point. But if this call is that absurd, if they call and they're like, I left my iPad at the SkyTrain. She's like, that's not an emergency. You know, you call them. I don't know how else she could have handled it. I just feel like in the moment, I would have had to say something horribly sarcastic.
Yeah, you'd be fired, though, if you were. Yeah,
That's
you
true.
would never survive as a 911 dispatcher.
Number 7 is a 911 call from someone who was just locked out of their Airbnb.
Okay, so you landed at the airport and then you're trying to get into your Airbnb, but the door is locked. Are you safe right now? Okay, well, unfortunately, because it's not an emergency, we won't be able to assist you with it. At this point, just being locked out of an Airbnb is not going to be an emergency, so we're not going to be able to assist with it.
I think that 911 operator gave that more attention than he even should have.
Yeah. But if
Really
they're locked
explained it.
out of the Airbnb, perhaps there's something chasing them. A bear, maybe, or...
Yeah, that could be a different story, but to call because the locks are weird, like I guess it depends the context of that. Same with the hornet. Is it a regular hornet, or is it like this giant science fiction hornet that's in there with you, and it's about to take over the world? You're locked out of your Airbnb. Is there a guy with like a mask and a chainsaw chasing you?
Maybe the hornet's involved in all of these situations. So the hornet was in the person's house. The Hornet was chasing the people to their Airbnb, and then they couldn't get in because they were locked out.
The Hornet cut the guy's hair?
With his stinger. And the Hornet took the iPad.
Okay, well, how about this one? This is number 6 is a caller wanting to complain about traffic.
Okay, so you're trying to call 911, an emergency service, to know what's wrong with the traffic? Okay, yeah, you don't call 911 for a traffic report. That's inappropriate use of this.
That's good. He shut that down quick.
He did, yeah. The person's like, the traffic is backed up here, and it's not a Taco Bell. It's hundreds of giant hornets, and they're blocking traffic and stinging everybody and chasing them to their locked Airbnbs.
Yeah. Something as petty as all of this is number 5 is someone's calling not the police. They're calling 911 to let them know that a non-electric vehicle is parked in an electric vehicle only spot, one of the ones that have the charging stations.
Are you safe right now? Okay, this is not a 911 call. You need to call the non-emergency line.
Yeah, parking disputes rarely should require a 911 call.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Actually, we got 2 in a row. Number 4 is someone's calling to report that someone's parked outside of a Starbucks, but they didn't go into the Starbucks. They went into a grocery store nearby.
Sorry, so you're calling 911 because you wanted to take a parking spot, but somebody else took your parking spot, but then you saw that this person wasn't going into Starbucks. They were actually using that parking spot to go into Fraser Mart. Okay, like, did he have a weapon or something? Like, or did he assault you? Like, I'm not sure why you're calling 911 to complain about a parking spot, right? This is super inappropriate because 911 is the emergency line.
That was good. Yeah. That's how I would handle
it.
Like, did he have a gun? Like, because I can't imagine you're so stupid that you would just call. Like, surely this guy had a gun.
No, but certainly that is annoying when somebody parks at one business to get a parking spot there and then goes into another. So it's not that it's not worth complaining about. I wouldn't call 911 over it, but the non-emergency line, maybe they could call there and get the police out to investigate.
What would the police investigate? Like, parking infractions is like, especially on private property, you could go into Starbucks and complain to them, and they could get like whoever manages the lot to tow the car or something. But it's not like it's a city spot where bylaw enforcement's going to come give them a ticket. This has nothing to do with the police.
Yeah, hi 911. This car pulled up and took my parking spot at a Starbucks, but then didn't go into the Starbucks and went into this giant hornet's nest that was just down the street. And he didn't have a gun, but he had a massive stinger.
How about the caller? Number 3 is the caller whose dishwasher was broken. Good God.
You've called 911. This is for life or death emergencies. So did you mean to call 911 and not help you with your dishwasher? You'll have to call a repairman or your building manager, something like that, okay?
A 911 operator must hear so much crazy stuff because there's just so many weird people out there, and they all have like a phone, and 911 is so quick and easy. I feel like they must just get inundated with craziness like that. We're listening to this and we're thinking like, yeah, the Hornet's probably responsible for all of this, but I bet you a 911 operator is like, no, that's just another day on the job.
Yeah, it's probably every 2 hours they get a really weird one like that.
Mm-hmm. Like number 2 is a 911 call because Walmart wouldn't accept the return of an air fryer they bought.
Is there any reason for the police to be attending besides you're not able to return something at Walmart? Are you safe? Is anyone trying to harm you right now? Okay, in that case, if you want, you can call the non-emergency line.
Come on. I do love air fryers, but again, if you're calling 911 about something at Walmart, it's a bad vibe. That's a bad.
But I noticed the 911 dispatchers are constantly pushing to the non-emergency line. So they're always suggesting that. It's like, well, it doesn't sound like you were trying to return your air fryer is an emergency, so I'll give you the non-emergency number, which is like the regular police number. So then the police are getting these calls now just pushed onto them by 911.
Yeah, 911 almost should have handled this to just save everybody's time.
Yeah. because now it's just being pushed over to somebody else who doesn't have time to deal with that either. And they're also pushing all of these issues over to exterminators too.
And repairmen.
And repairmen, as I don't think that's fair.
Let's hear our final one. The final one from BC, I should say. This is a caller because their luggage exceeded the carry-on limits. So another aviation story.
Okay, and what's going on there? If your bag is taller than usual, but if your bag is oversized, you can check it in. You just can't bring it on as a carry-on. Well, unfortunately, the police can't help you with that. If that's the rule of the airline, you have to follow the rule of the airline. But it's not something the police will help you with.
God.
He's kind of helping him there, though. He's explaining the rules to him about how carry-on luggage and check luggage works. And he kind of is assisting him in some way.
I thought the same. I was kind of surprised that he explained that much. He gave it the time of day, which, like, I think if you do 911 call taking, it's probably easier sometimes to just draw from your own life experience a little bit here and there.
Right.
Those were all the calls from BC. What I didn't like is that we didn't get to hear the caller. It would have been great, but we couldn't. So be it. But there is another police department that released a little bit more information. This is one from York Regional Police in Ontario. They released just one 911 call as a way to show kind of some of the ridiculous stuff that they hear. And they released both sides of the call. It concerns a guy who's mad about a snowplow. Listen to this.
I understand the snowplowers are trying to do their job, but they're driving at 20 kilometers an hour down the highway. And if I'm late again, I'm going to be penalized at work. Literally 20 kilometers an hour, miss. There's 5 of them. Like, it is becoming a miss. You might want to send an officer out here.
Sir, I can't make the snowplows go faster.
They beeped him out, but he's like, it's becoming a shit show, miss. You might want to send an officer out here. What's the officer going to do? For one, he'd be stuck in traffic if the plows are going 20 kilometers an hour. But what is an officer going to do? This guy is hilarious.
Yeah, he's really mad. And it seems like the issue is more to do with the fact that he's late for work even when there's not bad weather. He's just always late for work. And then he's been warned, if you're late again, and then he comes out onto the street and the snow plows in front of him and he's like, oh God.
Here we go.
This is a shit show.
They got to get an officer out here. I can almost hear him when he gets to work. The boss is like, Jimmy, you've been late 12 times in the last 14 days. But Jimmy finally has an excuse. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this guy, but hearing his voice, I've met people like that are that unreasonable and emotional, which is a terrible mix.
Yeah. It sounds like he had some issues returning his air fryer to Walmart also.
Yeah, whatever it is, there's certainly more going on with this guy than a slow snowplow in front of him. I just wish we could get the full calls of all these. I would love to be able to just sit down and hear it all, but
yeah, it's too bad. I'd like to hear a little more of the other side, but I
think it gets the point across.
It gets the point across, and I think that it might. I wonder if they sound as crazy when you have the other side of the conversation there.
I guarantee they do.
Because right now we're just hearing the 911 dispatcher's side of the story.
But to me, that's the least exciting part. I would rather, if I could only hear one side, I'd pick the person who's ranting about this stuff.
I want to hear both sides of the argument, and then I'll decide if it's justified or not.
That'd be good. Be judge and jury. Or we could have those two kids preside over this case as well.
Yeah, if they've got an issue, then we'll hear it out and then we'll decide.
Yeah, well, I think I don't think we can decide tonight. I think we've been through a lot. This has been a jam-packed episode. We've been fat-shamed on an airplane. We've been stuck in a cargo hold. We sat in on a trial. We went to Newfoundland and waited in line for hours for Taco Bell. And then we called 911 11 times. I think we did our job and we kept Canada weird for our 197th time. We're about to be knocking on the door of episode 200, and I'm very excited for that.
Oh, yeah, we're getting there. It's going to be a big episode for us.
Is it, though? Because I don't think we've really thought of anything yet.
Yeah, I guess it'll just be normal.
The cover art will look
200 episodes. Who cares?
Yeah, it's true.
No one cares. Yeah.
For listeners out there who want to celebrate the 200th episode, what you can do is go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and send us a voicemail and let us know.
Let us know how Keep Canada Weird has changed their lives.
For the better or the worse. That's good.
Yeah.
And while they're at it, they can go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave a positive review. I would like that. And if it's a negative review, still give it 5 stars and write it like we said.
Yeah, we'll still take the criticism. We want those 5 stars though.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's put a bow on this. Handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop Backhoe Bonaparte. Until next time.
If you get on an airplane, wear a body cam. And if you're working for an agency and they're like, someone's got to go in there and reorganize those suitcases, say, like hell, I listen to Keep Canada Weird. I know better.
Yeah. And Jordan, until next time, whenever there's, a child argument that you stumble across and you're not sure how to solve it, just encourage them to sue each other. And then 3 years later, we'll be able to get to the bottom of it.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.